Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Detroit. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas, and we're ready for round 9 action here where we have Alex Majlaton playing against Eric English. Now, Alex, interesting here, really known for being an affinity player. He has played a lot of modern affinity in his life, and that blue-white Eldrazi deck was just too much. It pulled him away from it. Alex has also had, a fair bit of success over his career, including 8 GP top 8s. He plays for Team East-West Bowl on the Pro Tour.
It actually does mean something meaningful that he's not playing Affinity. He has multiple modern top 8s with Affinity, and he's played it in every modern tournament thus far. So the fact that he's not sleeving up Affinity means that he really believes in this blue-white Eldrazi list.
Yeah, his opponent, Eric English, also at 8-0 is playing the red-green. We're calling it the big red-green Eldrazi deck. There are kind of 2 different red-green Eldrazi lists floating around, and I'm assuming he's the one with like lightning bolts.
He's actually the slightly bigger list. He's got 4 World Breakers. He's got
so he's the big list.
Yeah, 4 Talisman of Impulse and no lightning bolts. 4 Kozilek's returns.
Right. So he's the full-on big version. He's from Rochester, New York, and he says he hasn't played a deck this good in a GP in a long time. He's played in one PT, played in PT Theros, which was in Dublin.
It was.
I was there. You'd think I'd know, but the cities kind of blend together at some point. All right. So we've got Endless Ones bashing into each other.
Not living up to their name.
And, and ending quite shortly here. And no play there for Majlaton as he plays in a Darker Waste.
And this is something that you're not super a fan of if you're Eric English, because
he's just got to have like heat, right?
Right. If Alex doesn't play an Eldrazi Displacer or an Endless One or Sky Spawners, the chance he has a Thought-Knot Seer is really high, and the fact that Eric also didn't play a card on turn 2 means that there's a pretty good chance that Eric also has a Thought-Knot Seer that is likely to get taken here.
Here's a common interaction these days in Modern. The Thought-Knot Seer is going to get killed with the ability on the stack, but of course that means that Eric gets to draw a card when it dies, but that ability is still going to resolve. So whatever the best thing is after all the dust settles, Alex is going to get to take it away from Eric.
And here, presumably that's Thought-Knot Seer, because Eric is going to get to play it next turn. No.
Ancient Stirrings, of course, one of the big draws. Is that one of the reasons that people have started to shift away from the blue-white version and have started playing red-green?
Definitely. Ancient Stirrings does a lot for the deck. It makes it more consistent in hitting Eldrazi Temple and Ayavugan, and it also serves as a way to pick up extra Eldrazi, search for your Thought-Knot Seers, your Reality Smashers. Urborg playing double duty here because Eric gets to now play a 5/5 Endless One despite only having 3 lands.
Insane. All right, so he's got a 5/5 facing no board state here, so that little sequence worked out pretty well for Eric.
One of the disadvantages of Urborg, though, Alex is getting to piggyback off Urborg. So Eric played a land that gave him an extra mana, but it also gave Alex an extra mana. Giving your opponent an extra mana is a really big drawback, and I certainly expect Ancient Stirrings to go here.
Yeah, just a land, though, for Alex as he passes the turn back to Eric English, who does have the board here. He's got a 5/5. So if he wants to press his advantage, he can, but he really needs something to back it up. And
I think it's going to get pathed here. Alex could just take it and try to race. One of the disadvantages of playing the blue-white Eldrazi against the red-green Eldrazi is that Path to Exile actually has a real drawback here. When you're playing against a list that has Oblivion Sowers and World Breakers, giving your opponent an extra basic, it can really hurt you. And I think that Alex might just take the damage as a result. Eric, in fact, doesn't even want to race.
Yeah, he's just going to pass the turn back here. He has nothing else going on in his hand. He's got 2 lands and a Kozilek's return, so it looks like he's content to just sort of sit back and not push his luck here by forcing a race, but Alex is going to have none of it. He's going to go ahead and path to exile the Endless One immediately, and that's going to clear the way for him to get in with his Thought-Knot Seer and his Reality Smasher. Ouch.
Yeah,
wow, that is exactly what he didn't want to see.
At this point, if you're Eric, I think you just fire off end of turn Kozilek's return.
Just
put it in the graveyard, and then if you draw a World Breaker, you can cast it next turn because of the Urborg.
That's totally true. You think he'll see it? He's
8-0. If he's played the deck a reasonable amount, it seems fairly likely.
Yeah, especially when it's the only card in his hand that actually does anything.
The drawback to it is if you draw a second copy, you don't get to double cast them, but yeah, here it goes.
Yeah, but even then, the Smasher
is that a World Breaker?
Survives.
Oh, no, it's a Matter Reshaper.
Matter Reshaper, yeah.
Which is still good in the sense that it can chump the Thought-Knot Seer, and then you go to 2, but you get to see an additional card to find your World Breaker.
Yeah.
There are a number of cards Alex can draw. In fact, I think that was one of them that win the game on the spot.
Oh, a Displacer. Immediately activate it. Get Shaper out of here. And kill ya.
And that'll do it.
That will do it for game number 1 here. So a real slugfest between those two decks, and that is the kind of thing that we've seen from these. I do appreciate that about them, is that they don't stall out all that often. Sometimes you'll see them go long, and you'll see Eye of Ugin get activated a few times. But sometimes it's more of a tempo game like this where you kind of just killed each other's threats. And the amount of power that these decks can put out in such a short period of time closes out the game so quickly. I mean, Eric just had, a draw step, as it turned out, to find an answer or to find something big to cast, and he didn't find it.
Yeah, had he found World Breaker, he would have actually been pretty far ahead, but he didn't, and Alex drew a way to remove a blocker, and that's it. They're on to game 2.
Now, for those of you just joining us here at GP Detroit, there are 2 other GPs going on, both modern, around the globe here this weekend. There's one in Melbourne, Australia, and the other one is in Bologna, in Italy. And they, I got to tell you, if you haven't been up on this, the Eldrazi, they're crushing. They are smashing all of the GPs. Maybe smashing's too strong, but they are putting up really solid performances.
So they're like crunching.
They're crunching, yeah, absolutely crunching, and they are here too. We clearly aren't fully finished with the day, so we don't know exactly what the top tables are looking at. But we've had BDM kind of keeping an eye on the story as we've gone through of what is happening with the Eldrazi. How good are they really? The format has now had some time to adjust, a tournament in between, plus now a GP after the Pro Tour, and the big question mark coming in is, can Modern adjust and put Eldrazi in its place as a maybe powerful option?
Depends what its place is.
Yeah, currently it's on the pedestal because it has been absolutely dominant here in Detroit. At least as far as Modern goes. Maybe not quite at the Pro Tour level, but still.
It also depends on Displacer, which is, turns out, one of the more important cards. Well, I actually saw a pretty interesting Eldrazi build. I was, walking around taking a look at deck lists last round. Black-white Eldrazi for removal, and the key there is Displacer on Shriekmaw is a really good combo.
Oh, that's great.
And then you get stuff
and
like,
you can even do it when you evoke if you have enough mana.
Yep, for 5 mana you evoke Shriekmaw, blink it, kill 2 of their things, end up with a Shriekmaw in play.
And have a Shriekmaw.
Yeah, and you even get cards like Lingering Souls if you want them. Your Dismembers are a little better to cast. So
Lingering Souls, yeah.
Vault of the Archangel as one of your colorless options.
Wow, yeah, that's super sweet. Yeah, I jokingly said in our last segment with BDM that I was going to build a black-red Eldrazi deck just to be the first one to do that, because every other color pair seems to be getting
there's a black-red
knocked
Eldrazi
off
deck in the
list.
room.
Yeah, there probably is.
Just so we're clear, there's over 2,000 people here, and you're going to sit.
I'm not the first. Is that what you're, okay? Yeah. What if I do Dragons in Eldrazi?
Black-red Dragon Eldrazi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might be the victor there. Though.
Well, not in many matches. But
I technically played that at the Pro Tour because we had Dismember and Gutshot in our deck. That's black and red. Seeming Spirit Guide also.
Yes.
And then Mutavault. That's a dragon. So I think by some definitions I played black-red Eldrazi dragons at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, it's a stretch, but I'll give it to you. So you beat me to that punch. I'm off it now.
Alex Majlaton looks unhappy to be
Yeah,
at the
he
game
looks
here.
pretty mad.
He's a very cheerful guy. I've actually played against him many times.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's from he's from Maryland.
He is.
Yeah.
And we'll be taking a look at other matches as we can, but turns out all these matches finished their first game at the same time. So we're sticking around here until round 2 starts.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. That is Mark Herberholz there, though, right? In the well, they're both in beanies, but in the blue beanie there.
Yep.
We don't see him out at a ton of GPs, but he has been showing up here
every now and then.
Yeah.
Winner of Pro Tour Honolulu in 2005. Someone I vote for the Hall of Fame every year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he was the best player in the game for a period of time.
And
also one of the best deck
designers, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He. I've always been impressed by Mark.
All right, well, Eric is going to be on the play here, and he is immediately going to fire off an Ancient Strains.
And whether you believe it or not, Marshall's making the stirring motion right now.
You're not.
I said whether you believe it or not. It's not contingent on you believing it.
Oh, I see.
Talisman of Impulse, actually a very key card in this deck, especially a foil one, because it lets you ramp up and cast your Thought Knots and stuff, even if you don't hit the Eldrazi lands.
That was pretty nice.
Yeah. It is a nice lightning bolt taking out that Mimic, but Thought Knot Seer still does work. Look at that. Thought Knot Seer taking Thought Knot, leaving 2 Kozilek's return back.
And once again, Eric finds himself behind the 8-ball and in a tough spot.
You know, even though Eric was on the play, Alex had Eye into Temple, which is the draw that gives you the turn 2 Thought Knot Seer. And I think he has a Reality Smasher to follow things up with.
Does he really? No.
He does, but he chooses not to play it. I wonder if he has another Thought Knot Seer. That's like one of the bigger reasons to not run out Reality Smasher there. Oh, it looks like he has Mimic plus Displacer. Unless it looks like he might have just had a Mimic, not a Reality Smasher. Either way, Alex is playing many mana worth of spells in the first couple turns of this game.
Yeah, these are the really exciting draws, the Ugin and Temple, the Eye of Ugin and Temple draws. I mean, this
but you know,
scary.
Eric, once again, because he has second Eldrazi Temple, he could have a turn 4 World Breaker if he draws one, which again means I think we're going to see an end of turn Kozilek's return, and if it returns, then Alex is in a lot of trouble.
Wow, especially with this.
Oh, he's definitely firing off Kozilek's
He's just going to fire it off now to take out one creature guaranteed and set himself up for maybe a top deck World Breaker.
Yeah.
Does he have enough mana to play an Ancient Stirrings off the top and find a World Breaker?
No, but
we
that's
found
a
a
World
World Breaker! Boom! And immediately Kozilek's return's going to go away. The Temple's going to get hit. You see this because Eye is legendary, and he draws a card. Oh my god! What a swing!
That's what he was looking to have happen game 1, and that reduces Alex from 2 creatures and 3 lands to 2 lands and nothing else. That was incredible.
Holy smokes!
That was a broken turn. I mean,
that was busted.
For what it did, Eric really went a long way in stabilizing this game. And no, he didn't stabilize this game. He went from losing this game to winning this game
significantly.
He's now ahead, and he even drew an Eye of Ugin, which, in 3 turns, I guess. It will help him start activating Eye once he draws another land.
Wow. He could not exile that Kozilek's return fast enough
either.
No. He's just slammed it into his exile pile and said, get rid of those.
But regardless of the speed of which he exiled it, it will still have the same effect, I believe.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Expert. Yeah, but I have to say that you can really see the power of Ancient Stirrings here because it set him up for this by finding him his Temple. And if he top decks one now, like that's a lot of cards to see to try to find another World Breaker or, something to go big. Does he play Ulamog?
This game all of a sudden took a turn for the worse for Eric.
Wow.
And Reality Smasher, that's going to set Eric down to 6. Well, that attack with World Breaker looking a little less enticing than maybe it was a turn ago.
Yeah, now Alex just has to activate his Displacer and kill Eric if Eric doesn't have some way to deal with something here. He needs
we need a second top-decked World Breaker.
Is that what we need?
Yeah, cast Kozilek's return, hope to draw a second World Breaker.
Oh, no. Can he do it again? Now, a Lightning Bolt would suffice here, right?
Well, if you save the Kozilek's return, then you get outs of Lightning Bolt. And that's got to be what Eric's thinking about right now. He can cast Kozilek's return, and then a top-decked World Breaker is incredibly good.
Yes.
Or he can just untap, and then a Lightning Bolt or even a second Kozilek's return combine well to remove that Displacer.
He would need both, though, to take out their Smasher as well.
I think I'm in favor of casting it, and the reason being, if you draw a Lightning Bolt, you can just Lightning Bolt the Displacer, and
then
you're still
fine.
stabilized.
Yeah, I agree with you. He bricked?
No, he drew an Urborg, so, well.
So he's dead?
If Alex goes for it. I mean, that's how quickly these games can swing.
He drew another Reality Smasher just for good measure, though he can't do both.
I imagine it's safer just to blink the World Breaker with the Displacer because
then
if something goes wrong, you don't lose anything.
No.
But
they're both good. They're both wins on the table here.
Well,
if Alex goes for them,
we know that
as we see it, yeah.
That Eric is going to have the win regardless, or the loss regardless, and bam!
Oh man, that one attack!
Alex had another Reality Smasher in his hand.
Jeez, really? Wow, what a swingy match!
Well,
God, that was
unfortunately,
crazy.
Eric has the number of games he's lost this tournament has increased threefold because he came in with 1 game loss, and unfortunately he's going to move to tomorrow at 8-1, which is still obviously a fantastic record.
Yeah, super good start for Eric English, but he is going to have to take a loss here. In the meantime, Alex Majlaton 9-0. He's gonna go out and have a nice dinner, get a good rest, and then come back ready to smash. I mean, I said he's already got 8 GP top 8s, and he's going to put himself in a good spot with the run tomorrow to make 9. And I mean, you know his deck can do it. Blue-White Eldrazi's definitely put up good numbers. And yeah, it does look like we've had kind of tandem matches going here where you can see Herberholz and Calcano picking up their backpacks and deck boxes and that kind of thing. So I think we're going to see about maybe moving somebody over here. Alex is still all smiles, and why not? 9-0.
Yeah, and Alex is a like I said, a cheerful guy regardless. So
yeah, he is.
Had he been the one to lose, I still think he would not be. He maybe wouldn't be as cheerful, but he would still be fun.
All right. Well, this is Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa on the left-hand side, and he's brought Lantern Control. We did do a deck
3-0 drop artifacts on turn 1.
He's just dumping the hand out here. Hasn't played a land yet. Braun-Duin on the other side of the table is at 7-1, though. I got to figure that the match counter is not correct here, right? This has to be game 2.
Yeah,
so
we'll look into that. So, Paulo, do you think he's deciding whether to sack his welding jar or his Mishra's Bauble?
Between the two?
I think he's deciding whether to sack his Mishra's Bauble.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say he's probably not going to put welding jar's ability on the stack.
It looks like he's also looking at a Pithy Needle here.
Yeah, it's a possibility that he might want to fire it off.
This is game 3.
He knows that BBD is on the aggressive red-green Eldrazi deck. We also these players play on the same team, and we also saw Braun-Duin earlier today. Paulo's actually going to hold on to the Mishra's Bauble.
Yeah, you know why he does this? He mentioned this to me earlier, is that sometimes there's a one-turn window where you don't get to see what the person's doing, and he likes to keep it for that. Looks like he values the card a little higher here. But you will see him do that so that he has that base covered. But, in the early part of the game, it's pretty common for them to crack it just to get the card.
So Paulo has a very fast hand here, and in fact, a turn 2 Ensnaring Bridge is pretty good. It's going to stop all of BBD's creatures from attacking.
With the jar?
With Welding Jar. The downside here, even though Paulo lost his Spell Guide, is that he doesn't have Lantern or Ghoul Caller's Bell.
There's a Lantern.
I mean, he doesn't have Ghoul Caller's Bell.
Yeah, he didn't mean to interrupt you, but...
And now he has Ghoul Caller's Bell.
And now he's got a Ghoul Caller's Bell.
Infernal Tutored is a pretty interesting card. It's it's that kind of card you see in like Legacy and Vintage Storm decks.
Yes.
But in this particular case, it's used in this Lantern deck as a one-of because the deck empties its hand so efficiently.
Yeah, that is, one of the things that you don't realize about the deck is that it gets hellbent very quickly. It's trying to. And so one of the requirements to the cards that it has to play is that they have to be cheap, so that because you never want to have an Ensnaring Bridge and still be able to be
cheap
attacked.
As in like cheap tactics, or
I think some people would say that, but that is not what I meant. I mean, look at the mana cost on his cards here, right? 0, 0, 1, 1, and then 3 is like his big bomb.
It's Paulo's turn 3, and he has 8 cards in play and no cards in his.
Yeah.
And the top card of his library is revealed, just because.
Yeah. Now, do we have BBD's deck list here?
It doesn't look like we have it right now.
Okay. Yeah, because I am curious, because right now there's a very slim window for BBD to get rid of the bridge in some capacity here, right? Like, I mean, World Breaker comes to mind since it exiles.
Yeah, I know that they are playing a World Breaker and I believe a number of Ancient Grudges.
Okay. So a grudge, using both halves of it over the course of a couple of turns here would also get the job done, but not for long, right? I mean, Paulo is going to be able to Infernal Tutor here and go get a mill artifact.
Yeah, the Ghoul Caller's Bell is the most likely one. Codex Shredder has the additional ability of, you can pay 5 and sacrifice it to get a card out of graveyard. Ghoul Caller's Bell has the advantage of it mills both players, which tends to be a little more powerful because the Lantern deck kind of likes milling itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Academy Ruins and Codex Shredders to pick up other things. Though I guess one reason that Paulo's getting the Pixis of Pandemonium is that when you exile World Breaker, BBD can no longer get it back.
Yeah,
and
that
is
World Breaker
critical.
is the big problem here, right? Like, because that's the one.
It's the most relevant
BBD.
card. Also, Pixis does also stop Ancient Grudge from getting flashback.
Okay.
So that's why Paulo has included the one Pixis in this deck.
He has 2 in his sideboard as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he'll even go up, and this is why he probably has 3 in his list right now. Hey, look, it's a creature.
Yeah, that is acceptable.
It doesn't matter. So things looking really good for Paulo to improve to 8-1 here, but BBD does have maybe somewhat of a window here because he's got a lot of cards in his hand. There's a Codex Shredder on top of the library for Paulo as well.
Which Paulo would like to draw.
Yeah.
I mean, not only does he not want to mill the Mimic, he does want to draw the Codex Shredder because as we've seen this Lantern deck, gain control, the whole idea is to give your opponent as few live draws as possible.
There's an Ancient Grudge. Or excuse me, a Pyroclasm, sorry.
Not looking
Which
so hot
I don't
right
think
now.
he wants here.
No, not at all.
So ideally he sees something to mill away here. He doesn't. But you expect he would probably go ahead and get rid of that Pyroclasm here, or I mean he can.
I think he would Codex Shredder the Pyroclasm.
He can just cast it if he really.
Yeah, he would rather not draw it. He doesn't
Yeah.
actually have any cards, I think, that get stuck in his hand right now. One of the worries with Bridge is getting stuck. Also, BB doesn't have any 1-power creatures, so Paulo can hold a card for a turn and be okay. So what BBD has, and he's kind of trying to save as long as possible, is Ancient Stirrings. He wants to, because Paulo can't stop Ancient Stirrings from looking at the top 5. Paulo can make sure the top card isn't good, but the other 4 are fair game. So BBD wants to wait on Ancient Stirrings, presumably till he has lethal, and then go Ancient Stirrings, World Breaker, you're ensnaring.
Now, is there any risk to that? I mean, Paulo does have hand disruption spells.
That is the risk.
Thank you, Paulo.
Oh, but Paulo, assuming that
Wow.
that BBD's hand does not have anything particularly relevant, is using the Pixis.
Oh, that's interesting. That could be an opening here for BBD down the line a little bit. Looks
yeah,
like
BBD
Paulo's
is happy with that turn of events. Less happy with this one.
Yeah, so a second bridge means that 1 World Breaker is no longer enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
BBD presumably playing the same list as Alexander Hayne, his teammate, and Hayne's got 1 World Breaker in the main deck, 1 in the sideboard, and then 3 Ancient Grudges, which again don't work against Pixis.
All right, well there it is. There's the Ancient Stirrings, and I'm I would love to be able to ask Paulo, what do you think? Right, like, do you think, oh, that card, or are you thinking, yeah, whatever?
Paul's not happy about it. I mean, most of BBD's cards in his deck are dead right now, so Ancient Stirrings is certainly gives BBD an opportunity to get something going. But as it turns out, BBD's choice is Matter Reshaper or 2 lands. It looks like 2 natural states, a sideboard card that he brought in, that he's not eligible to take off Ancient Stirrings.
Brutal.
We saw Ancient Stirrings miss once today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
wow, it
because
just missed.
Painter Servant was in play.
Oh, I was listening to that to you guys commentate when I was walking back over here from across the street.
It was pretty funny.
That's brutal. Yeah, Modern goes pretty deep on the interactions.
BBD just has another creature, but just none of these creatures matter, and certainly not that one.
And another Codex Shredder here for Paulo. He drew that Ancient Stirrings.
He did. He chose to draw Ancient Stirrings. Again, Paulo can wait if he wants to. I don't see a particular reason to do that, but it's not like a situation which he was in earlier. We saw him with a bridge against 2 Eldrazi Scions at 2 life, where if he passes the turn of the card in his hand, he could lose.
He just found another bridge. So now he has 2 bridges in play plus a welding jar, and he could even have a 3rd bridge just for like the full redundancy. Is that his primary concern here?
I think so, because he knows, presumably, because they're on the same team, that BBD does not have like an alternate win condition. It's not like when you're playing against an Eldrazi Displacer deck that can start blinking Thought-Knot Seers to make it so you draw a bunch of cards. Like, that's something that extra bridges don't help with. But he knows that for BBD to win, he has to kill all Paulo's ensnaring bridges, and that's just not going to happen.
Well, one of the cards that comes to mind is Ulamog, Ceaseless Hunger, because he can get 2 bridges with that. Is that a possibility?
Some of the red-green decks certainly play it. I do not believe BBD is playing it.
I've seen one in some of the lists, but if we had the list, we could confirm, but for whatever reason, it's not here. Even then, though, he still has to get rid of the other one.
Yeah. So the 3rd bridge helps even in that scenario, just because, again, the red-green decks are not really high on alternate win conditions.
Another Pixis for Paulo, and he seems to be firing on all cylinders here.
Pandemonium is ensuing.
Indeed. Yeah.
The great part about the Lantern deck is that when you lost the game, you still don't actually lose the game for many, many, many turns.
That's what you like about the deck?
in the words of Randy Buehler, you get to play more Magic.
that is technically true. I'm not sure if Brian Braun-Duin would agree with you here.
Well, he is choosing to continue battling.
That's true. So right now, Paulo has 3.
He has 3 mill
manipulate
effects.
and then 1 lantern as well, just in case somehow there's 4 relevant cards on top of the library. The question that I start asking at this stage is, are there 4 relevant cards in his deck?
There are, but the fact that Paulo, it's not that BBD has to hit 4 in a row. He has to hit like 7 in a row.
He needs all of them.
Because Paulo goes mill, untap mill, and
you're like, sure, you got a world breaker by assembling the 2 million to 1 shot or whatever.
And Paulo's going to be a little bit more aggressive here. We've seen this before. He doesn't want to waste a bunch of time, so he's going to mill BBD a little bit more frequently, even when there's like a card like Endless One on top of the deck, which doesn't really impact things. And part of the reason there is that he wants to, make sure he wins the match. He wants to get the match done with. So BBD
looking at the
does in fact have the second World Breaker on the sideboard. Does have the 3 ancient cards, the same sideboard as Hayne pretty much, and that means that it's going to be pretty hard for him to get out of this trap.
You say that.
Yeah,
but
I
you're
do.
understating it in a pretty big way. It's going to be pretty hard. Like, does he have?
It's gonna. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I should rephrase.
Period?
It's going to be moderately difficult.
Thank you for upgrading from pretty hard to moderately difficult.
It's going to be a slight inconvenience.
You're going the wrong direction.
All right. Bringing back the Marshall Sutcliffe percentages, what percentage would you estimate the BBD is here?
95-15.
95-15?
Yeah, against.
Yeah, that does not add up to 100, but I'm going to say that Paulo is almost assuredly going to win. The fact that BBD has to string together, I think, every relevant card now against 4 Pyxis of Pandemonium and a Codex Shredder means that I don't really see a way out of this.
All right, we got the hard-hitting truth out of Luis one way or another. Grafdigger's Cage, huh? Does Grafdigger's Cage do anything against World Breaker? I haven't seen that yet. You're not actually casting it out of your yard, right? So you just get it back in your hand.
Correct.
So it doesn't do anything there.
Ooh, surgical extraction. Paulo can just, if he wants, make sure, but he doesn't really want.
Like you said, he gets pretty aggressive here down the stretch and just getting the job done. I think he knows that the percentages are overwhelming.
Yeah, I like Paulo. His strategy here. I think that valuing the time that he has to spend here is important.
Here in Detroit?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean just to go get some food or hang out.
In complete seriousness, getting done with the tournament faster does increase your win percentage in the morning, or at least
that's what I meant.
It has an impact.
Yeah. I mean, it is almost 9:30 here in Detroit. He's probably going to grab some food.
And so now, see here, Paulo makes sure to activate Pyxis because that exiles that Ancient Grudge.
And this is certainly the fun part for Lantern Control players because they get to just dictate everything.
I can't blame them. You have full control. There's no other deck that you have as much control as in Lantern. Like, you can be playing a blue control deck with a bunch of counter spells, but you don't control the top of the deck.
No. And that does it. Paulo Vitor, Damo Rosa with Lantern Control defeats Brian Braun-Duin, hands him his second loss of the day with Blue-Red Eldrazi, and improves his own record to 8-1. That's going to do it here for round 9 from Detroit. Cancel that order. We're going to move another match over.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I like that. Sweet. We got Ben Friedman and Alexander Hayne. Both players, 8-0. So you said that Alex is playing the same list that we just saw from BBD there?
Yeah, it looks like just about the same 75. And Ben, we've seen on camera, actually didn't get to do commentary in the round that he appeared on earlier, but we finally hit an Obs on Company deck.
That's 2 out of 3 pieces with that last collected company there. So he has one Viscera Seer or Court of Calling away from just going off here.
I believe he has a
card in hand. Hey, we came in right in time here.
So Ben's going to pick up...
It looks like Alex doesn't have any cards in hand.
Given that, Ben picks up Viscera Seer, eats the Kitchen Finks a bunch of times. It keeps coming back with no counters on it, thanks to Malira. Gains infinite life, scries his deck. gets to put Murderous Redcap on top. It's not even clear that Alex has a satisfactory way of defeating Infinite Life.
There it is, right on the bottom. Well, it looks like he decided to scry for a Court of Calling.
That also will get Murderous Redcap.
Ben Friedman with basically infinite life has a lot here. What was
99
that?
plus.
What was that?
Ben saying go for it, I guess?
I guess. You see his hand on his head now. He's not stressing this, is he?
He might be worried that if Alex finds an answer to what he has in play, like let's say Alex finds a Kozilek's Return, which would kill everything but the Wall of Roots and bring the Kitchen Finger back to the 1-1. Oh, there we go. There's a Kozilek's Return. So how does Alex beat Infinite Life? All right, I love puzzles like these. Looking at Alex's deck, he's able to set Ben Friedman down to... Looks like Ben's going to get to rescry. Ben can now like put a Collected Company or something on top of his deck. I'm trying to figure out exactly how Alex wins the game when Ben has, again, infinite life. Like, we're representing it as 99 plus, but he can choose a number like 5 billion. I suppose he's restricted to real numbers. Alex can, like, play World Breakers, but I guess if Ben has fewer cards in his deck, Alex can deck Ben. It will be difficult to do, but it is possible.
Okay, so it was Collected Company that he had scried at the top, so let's take a look at the top 6 and see what you find.
Oh, Witness for Company and Big Game Hunter for Thought Not Seer.
Goodness sakes.
That is a big game. I mean, you could Witness Chord also, but I guess you would get you could just get another Witness at that point. And since Ben drew a card off the Thought Not Seer dying, he actually drew a land, so now he can Chord for 2 if he wants.
He's going to attack with Kitchen Finks, knock Hayne down to 10.
And Hayne,
with Hayne on no cards.
Hayne has to now like play this game because technically, I guess I think he could deck Ben on just naturally, like in terms of Ben has fewer cards in his deck. Realistically, that's not going to happen. Ben's actually just winning the game on the board right now. So Ben can actually Chord for 3 here with the Wall of Roots, which I imagine just gets back like another Eternal Witness to get back Chord or Company here. Or he could just get Kitchen Finks to pressure, let's see, 2, 5, so he can go up to 8 power. That's not going to be enough to kill Hayne, but it's going to be enough to prompt a concession. All right. All
right, so that is going to do it there, but that just means that we get to see a game 3 here between Ben Friedman and Alexander Hayne.
Yeah, and if there's time pressure, I think Hayne had incentive to not play out that game for very long either.
Fair, yeah. Yeah, we're probably fairly deep into the round here at this point. Players are going to consult their sideboards, but they are going to have to get that sorted quickly and make sure that they play out.
Hayne has access to some good sideboard cards. He's got Grafdigger's Cage, which stops both Collected Company and Court of Calling, which is quite relevant, as well as stopping Persist creatures. So Grafdigger's Cage, kind of a catch-all sideboard card. I really love the existence of that card, by the way. I find that it shuts down a lot of diverse strategies that are somewhat unfair in nature. So, taxing them a little bit, making them deal with it is nice.
And giving access to every deck to be able to play.
Yeah, the fact that it's accessed by every deck. I actually love it in Vintage because it combats both Dredge and Oath strategies all in one.
Oh, that's nice.
I had a funny situation when I played Blue White Tron at Grand Prix Lincoln. Well, actually, the first modern Grand Prix. And I had a Grafdigger's Cage out. My opponent Court of Calling sacked a fetch land to get a Dryad Arbor.
Okay.
Which you can't do. So
that actually is it.
So they said I'm getting Dryad Arbor, and I'm like, well, I don't think you do that. I have a Grafdigger's Cage. We called the judge, and the ruling at the time, I don't know if this is correct now, said they chose that card, and then it just couldn't enter play, so they just didn't get anything off the fetch land. I'm like, I guess that's how that works, sure.
Wow, really? That's a blowout. I suppose your opponent probably wasn't super thrilled to find that to be the case.
No, to be fair, I think they were going to lose that game anyway, but that certainly did not help. Kozak's turn also coming in from the sideboard because, again, this is a more aggressive red-green deck, and it was not really focused on having main deck returns. It only has the one World Breaker, but then post-board you end up with 2 World Breakers if you want them, and then Kozak's return. It's actually just good for its 3-mana version on its front side against Ben Friedman. Ben has certainly upped his removal count. Looking at his sideboard, he's got 2 Big Game Hunters, 2 Path to Exile, which I would imagine are in the deck right now. Funnily enough, so Burnt Forge Tender, it's a frequent sideboard card to stop, burn spells, sweepers like Pyroclasm. Doesn't work against Kozak's return because it's colorless.
Oh, that's brutal. It's taking a little while to get sideboarding done here. I don't have a view of the clock from the booth here, but I see a lot of players milling around here as the round sort of winds down. And
yeah, we've seen Paulo mill a couple rounds actually from the booth.
Okay, it sounds like feature match has 14 minutes to go, so they got plenty of time.
Oh yeah, that's definitely ample time given the what we've seen most of the Eldrazi decks do, and even the Malira deck, the Absalon Company deck. That deck doesn't actually lend itself to very long games because if it ever gets 3 or 4 creatures in play, usually that just means it's winning.
Yeah. And we're going to get to see the full force of that in Alexander Hayne's hand as he's going to be on the play here. And if he has one of those draws.
What do you mean, those draws?
You know what I'm talking about.
Well, I saw a Relic of Progenitus, which is another anti-combo card. And the more cards like that you have in your deck, the kind of slower your deck ends up being, or at least you have a little bit fewer threats. And
looks like he had one of those draws. Sends that one back.
That's those draws I'm used to, by the way.
Yeah, right. You just keep them and get there. Alex
I'm just doing coverage. I can't handle the swings.
and take a mulligan. Ben Friedman keeps.
His hand looks great because I see a land, Birds of Paradise, and a Wall of Roots. There's almost no hand where I see those 3 cards at the beginning that is bad.
See if Alex finds a keeper here. Again, these players fighting to stay undefeated and have that sweet, sweet undefeated dinner. Wake up tomorrow undefeated and then coming back in battle. All right, Alex is kept.
Well, the upside, if you do get defeated, you get a consolation dinner.
Yeah, right. Who gives you that? Where do I collect?
I'm just making it clear that you get dinner either way.
Fair enough.
And this is not one of those draws. Leaving on Grove of the Burnwillows means Alex is not playing a turn 2 Thought-Nuts here. He's unlikely to play a turn 3 Reality Smasher that's still possible.
Birds of Paradise is going to be the first play here for Ben Friedman. He's going to pay a few life for the privilege here as well.
Hayne putting a Carplucin Forest into play tapped. Interestingly enough, Hayne chose to take opponent damage rather than give his opponent a point of life with Grove of the Burnwillows, which it's funny having those 2 exact lands, the lose a life, give a life land. It really shows you what each player or what the player controlling those lands thinks the matchup's like. Here, Haynes thinks he's the aggressor. He'd rather lose life than have his opponent gain life. In other matchups, you can see the opposite. Wow, that was not a very good Ancients turn.
Forest?
Basic Forest is like just about last on the list of legal targets I would imagine selecting.
That is brutal. He also plays a relic of Progenitus this turn and then passes.
Well, Ben's got a really good draw here. He can play Wall of Roots plus Malira, or he can just play Kitchen Finks. Assuming that Hayne isn't playing for the next couple turns, I kind of like, because it looks like Ben doesn't have a Viserys here, just going Finks, and then next turn if you draw a land, Wall of Roots Finks. You don't really need to play Malira. Also, you don't want to get Kozilek's returned. That would be quite annoying. You know, Hayne has got a third land here.
Hayne going over his options here. He was on a mulligan to 6 here, but looks like he's got enough room to work. Another Ancient's turn. All right, well.
He switched up who takes the damage now.
Yeah, he did. The roles have changed.
Well, there's a reason here is if Hayne finds like an Ayavugan, he might want to play Eye and then play like a Matter Reshaper, which I guess, actually doesn't matter which land he keeps on tap for that either,
No.
so
God.
I guess Hayne just thinks he's on the defensive now.
So now he's found Grafdigger's Cage.
That's defensive, but it's not going to actually stop Kitchen Finks from attacking him over and over again.
No.
Hayne's hand right now has at least one more Karplusan Forest. One of the things I really like about the Eldrazi deck being in Modern is we're seeing a real renaissance of the pain lands from all the different editions.
We are indeed.
There's a chance Ben also plays Wall of Roots and then doesn't play another creature because of Kozilek's return. But I don't know if you're supposed to play that defensively. It's kind of unfortunate, but Ben hand is like 5 creatures. So, yeah, it looks like he's just going to deploy another one.
Get in there for 4 damage. Dropping Hayne down to 15 before passing the turn back.
It also means that if Hayne then untaps and doesn't play another card, then he, or a Kozilek's return, then it's like becoming less and less likely he has one, which means Ben can at some point just be like, all right, I'm just going to play all my cards.
Alex is going to crack his Relic of Progenitus on end step. He's already got the graveyard pretty well sorted out thanks to the Grafdigger's Cage, and he really needs the action, so he's going to draw a card. And double Cage. God, this draw has just been miserable for Hayne.
Well, it stops that Court of Calling that Ben just drew. But yeah, this particular Cage match has not gone well for Hayne. He's just getting attacked for 4 with a Kitchen Finks. I think Ben Friedman might win the game by just playing a 3-mana 3/2 and then attacking with it a bunch of times.
Yeah, he's really dug himself into a hole here with the redundant Grafdigger's Cage and just chunks of damage coming in from Ben Friedman. And, I mean, yeah, this board state's going to kill him in a couple of turns if he doesn't get something going. Another land?
I think so. Hayne's just peeling land after land.
Tendo Ice Bridge for Alex.
Oh, it looks like he's got an endless one.
Okay. A blocker.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And that does stem the bleeding.
Ben immediately draws Big Game Hunter.
Oh, no.
So that puts Hayne on a 1-turn window to draw an answer. Finks get in there for 6. Wow.
Wow, that is a huge hit. And Alex is down to 5, and he needs to rip something immediately. And even then, he's still in trouble. What did he find? Okay, he found a Thought-Knot Seer.
I think he's obliged to take the Fiend Hunter or he just dies.
Yep.
And even if he does...
He's still in bad shape. Everything
Ben's
attacks,
just going to attack him with everything.
He goes down to 1.
The Finks doesn't come back, but Hayne does go down to 1. He buys himself another turn.
But then the bird can just kill him in the air the next turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben doesn't have to add new cards to his board.
No. And he even just gets to leave up Court of Calling as well here, just, in case something doesn't go the way he wants. He can maybe go get a spell start.
I wouldn't advise playing it into the double cage, but yeah, it's...
Oh, it does nothing?
It doesn't do anything.
Well, I said
it's
he gets to
it's
leave
like
it
a
up.
null rod.
I said he gets to leave it up.
Yeah.
I didn't
he
say
gets to leave it up. He doesn't have to exercise the option.
Yeah.
I agree with leaving up the
Try
Court
to
of Calling.
keep up, Luis.
Yeah.
All right, he's going to cash in Horizon Canopy. Well, he's found another... He's actually got the combo now, but that doesn't work either, so...
Yeah,
Yeah,
Grafdigger's Cage is shutting
Plan A.
everything down except for the fact that Ben has creatures that can attack. He can also attack with just the Finks as a 4/3.
That's interesting.
So that leaves lethal on the board but kills the Thought-Knot. That actually is just better.
It is, yeah. It does. Yeah, Alex could take it though too, right? And
yeah, but
it's
then you have
super
lethal
risky.
next turn.
Yeah, man, Alex
It's actually
is not
kind
in a
of
good
close.
spot.
I like attack with the 4/3 because if Alex blocks, you get an extra card, and it reduces your exposure to Kozak's turn a little bit. I guess it's about the same there.
Man, Big Game Hunter has really done work. I guess it was pretty hard to find him in the building this morning too.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's an uncommon, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old uncommons are tough.
Yeah.
One of the things I really like about Big Game Hunter is its name describes itself very well.
It's great.
It's been a big game this weekend.
It's awesome. All right, so it looks like Ben has decided to just attack with the Kitchen Finks and the Exalted Trigger there, and Alex has declined to block. So Alex he's all in here.
And now that Alex is at 1,
Is it just a Kozilek's return, or?
Yeah, I don't think you want to play Viscera Seer or Malira just because Kozilek's return still wipes everything off the board except Wall of Roots, so there's no reason to make that worse.
Did he find it? Alex is thinking. Is he just going over his last options, or
is he thinking not like this, or is he thinking, how should I maximize my Kozilek's return? If he draws Kozilek's return, he does want to attack with Thought-Knot Seer and hope that Ben blocks with Wall of Roots, then Kozilek's return just literally wipes everything.
Man, if that were the case, Ben Friedman would be down to land with some uncastable spells in his hand. All right, well, Ben's going to go for it here no matter what. He's going to attack with 3 creatures, and the quick wipe off of the hand and the shade.
That's just common courtesy.
Yeah, that was real nice of Alex. And that's going to do it. So Ben Friedman, wow, 9-0 with Obzon Company kind of running roughshod over these Eldrazi decks. Alexander Hayne is going to fall to 8-1. That's going to do it for round 9 here from Detroit.
Ultra Pro is the place to go for all of your Magic accessories. With card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and portfolios showing off the best Magic art, Ultra Pro is the standard in safe storage. Visit ultrapro.com for more information. Friday Night Magic has expanded to include all formats. Get ready for Commander, Legacy, or even Conspiracy drafts. Check out your local store for details and share your FNM stories by using the hashtag MTGFNM. Visit magic.wizards.com/FNM for more information.
Hey there, welcome back to the booth here in